Hey friends, welcome back for another episode of Psycho for Tyco, and we're going to do another Tyco challenge, and that is the Alco 630 Super Century. Can we do it as an Alco Century 630? Next on Psycho for Tyco.
From Tyco, of course.
Hey friends, welcome back. So here we are at the Carson City Railroad Museum once again. This is one of my favorite places to go in the spring and summer and fall time, just to, check out the displays and all that. Y'all know that by now I'm a pretty decent V&T modeler. I'm definitely a psychopathic Tonopon Tidewater modeler, especially considering the shirt I'm wearing. But we're not talking about that. We're going to be talking about Tyco's Alco Super Century 630. Started out great, and then, as we know, it turned into probably one of the biggest jokes and the biggest downfall of Tyco. So when Tyco first came out with the Alco Super Century, it was built with a Rivarossi style drive, and there was anywhere from 200 to 500 units produced in its first year of 1973 and 1974. These locomotives exclusively wound up at Sears as train sets for their next line, which I can't seem to get the research on. All I know is they were Sears Tyco train sets, no specific model. Now, even though they were reliable and even though they had a very decent Rivarossi style drive, Confoods struck again. Now with the power torque motors, they wanted the power torque motors to fit in everything. So it wasn't just the GP20s, it wasn't just the F7s, it wasn't just the Century 430s, it wound up in the Century 630. Now if you know anything about the Alco tri-mount trucks, they're not A1A. They're a different type of configuration, so they're elongated, and that was designed for the GE style traction motors that it carried. When Tyco decided, or Confoods basically decided, to go with power torque motors under the Alcos, they went with the now famously known Vampire trucks. And the Vampire trucks were called that because of their frame design. It kind of looked like fangs. So they were called Fang trucks, Vampire trucks, what have you. The other downfall of the 630s is they were produced in a high hood version. Now, if you model Norfolk and Western, and even later on the Norfolk and Southern, possibly Conrail, okay, you're halfway there. If you got a Sears model and you model Conrail, Norfolk and Western, or any of those roads, you're fine. You're decent. You got a decent little pulling locomotive, even though you've got the Talgo trucks. And it looks right. Okay, this is where the Tyco challenge comes in. Now with the Southern Pacific Railroad, they bought about 30 of these Alco 630s. They used them all over the system, and of course the Alco's aluminum blocks for their 251s already started having problems. And this was usually done because when they started running the 630s as helper service over Donner Pass, this is where the engines started finding their wear and tear. But that was only one problem with the SP. The other problem with the Southern Pacific's Alcos is they're Alcos. They burn a lot of oil. They're like an old Detroit. They leak oil all over the place. I mean, if an Alco's not smoking, it's not working. And of course, the state of California turned around and said, no, you can't run these here. So they rebuilt most of them in the Sacramento shops and moved a lot of them out to Texas for yard duty. They also moved a couple of them out to Colton Yard to also work as trim duty for the hump. That lasted about a couple of years before a few of them got cut down to be used as slug units. And then later on as part of their brake sled experiment, which didn't turn out too well. They used some Alcos for that. They used some Fairbanks Morse units for that, and it just wasn't a popular thing. It was trying to add more brake shoe to a locomotive. It was a crazy idea. It didn't really work too well. So that idea was shot down. Now getting back to our Tyco locomotives, okay, we can obviously put a low nose on there. I've shown you how to do a high nose on a Western Pacific GP20, so the process is basically the same. When Tyco built the Alco 630s, their Super Centuries with the Vampire trucks, they went through a lot of evolution, or I should say devolution, because they kept making them cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until around 1978, 1979, they stopped making them altogether. And they started importing an Alco C628 from Model Power. This replaced the 630s. Now the Model Power 628s, as far as detail-wise goes, was actually worse than the Tyco locomotives. How do you get worse than Tyco? You buy Model Power. However, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking a Model Power 628. We're going to pull the guts out. We're going to use the trucks for our Tyco 630. We're going to use the low short hood from the Model Power 628 for our Southern Pacific 630, and we're going to build a Southern Pacific Alco 630, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do the pre-rebuild or the post-rebuild version yet. Now I actually have two of these shells, so I'm probably going to make some helper units for the club. One might be powered, one might be a dummy, I'm not sure yet. This is the first time I've done something like this on a project, and therefore I want to share it with you, my viewers, and we're going to see if we can actually make a decent looking, under budget, and I am saying under budget, Alco 630 that looks almost as good as a Bowser, falls into the compliance of a Southern Pacific early Alco 630. We're going to add DCC to it, we're going to add sound to it, and we're all going to try and do this under budget. Now, so far, under budget is being good. I've picked up a Model Power from a secondhand store for maybe about 15 bucks. I've got our Tyco 630 that I was able to find in my scrap box. It's another Illinois Central job. And for the next few episodes that we're going to be doing it, we're going to be stripping the paint, we're going to be lowering the nose, we're going to be adding DCC, and we're going to be adding the correct trucks, which is the big thing right there. So if all goes well, we're going to have another locomotive on my roster, which means I got to get another storage box, because obviously I was up here, I'm running some trains. As you've seen, if you check out my shorts, I had to do a test run of BNT number 5. 5 ran well, 26 didn't. So I got to take 26 back to the shop, and I got to do some coupler work on that. But here we go. Next on Psycho for Tyco. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at our ICG 630 real quick first. Now this is the second generation C630, and it is told by the bottom here, Mantua and Tyco, and the type of weight that was put in here. You can also tell, oh good, it focused in. You can also tell by the small plow and opening here. So even with the first generation power torques, the ICG 630 wasn't a bad design model. it, like I was saying earlier, it's just Confoods over-designed. Wait a minute, that's not the word I'm looking for. So this is like what I was saying earlier, is Confoods figured it was over-designed and they needed to cheapen it up so, you know, they could get $40 or $20 in 1970s money from 3. So we do have some things we have to do with this. We don't have power torques under here, so that's a good sign. Now the Model Power 628 that we've got under here, I was looking at it a lot and I was like, you know what, maybe all I need to do is just swap out the frame and make it work with this. But Model Power in these days, and with this type of design here, is like, how do I explain this? It's like Confoods even went cheaper, even though Model Power wasn't working with Confoods. The frame detail, or not the frame detail, but the body detail isn't too bad. However, the handrails are crap. The cab is crap. This is going to require a lot of work because the cab and the frame are separate units. And we're going to have to make this work on our Tyco 630. So this is going to be a really big pain in the Tyco style conversion. Especially since, like, the nose here doesn't have any ladder detail. The nose here does have some ladder detail. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create our own drop steps out of this so we can make this our Southern Pacific 630. So let's go ahead and disassemble it before I start going on to a tirade. And as you can see here, the earlier model Tycos, while the power torques could still pop out, you had a couple of screws here for the weight, and then that would pop out. Now we're going to keep the fuel tanks because the fuel tanks here have some decent detail to them. If I really wanted to go all out, I've been playing with ideas on fuel tanks, and I thought these cheap little cigarette lighters. Drill a hole in it and drain out all the fluid, cut them in half. These wouldn't make bad fuel tanks for an Alco if we could shape it. But we got lucky with this first generation one. This one's not badly detailed for our weights, so we're going to keep our weights intact, or our fuel tanks intact, I should say. We're going to go ahead and we were going to set it aside, but we're going to go ahead and continue with our disassembly because we are going to have to strip the paints in this before we work. Now, getting out the old power torque mounts is somewhat easy if you're careful. You just kind of split the frame apart and they will pop out. Okay, our last one's being a little pain in the tuck us there. Okay, then our windows come out. Everything's got to come out in order for us to go ahead and strip this. I don't know if I don't think we have to worry about the front since we're getting rid of the high hood here. Okay, gives us a empty shell to work with. Now let's get our Model Power POJ done. We just got to a couple of screws here. There's our weight. Ugh, this thing looks horrible. I can hear things rattling around in here. Oh yeah. Oh, this thing is... Okay, and that is our model power cab. And usually it's just a slide out type of assembly. Here's our motor. It is a 3-pole. And oh man, this thing is like jerky worky, but we're not going to use this motor in this unit, and the reason I'm saying that is mainly because it's got a 3-pole. I do have an Athearn that I'm going to drop into our Alco, so we're going to go ahead. The main thing that we need out of this, as I pull things with plastic rotting in it out, I mean, yeah, this thing, whew. Take out our universals. The main thing I want out of this is the trucks and the universal mounts. I'm going to do a lot of reworking on this, so a lot of little clipping and things like that. And I've got one clip here that's good, one clip here that's not good. I was lucky to find these where I could find these for the price too. One of the things I have noticed lately about eBay, and this is making me angry, is people seem to be wanting to jack up the prices of everything, and if they can't jack up the price of everything, they're going to make you pay one way or the other with either shipping fees or mostly shipping fees. Let's just go with that. Shipping fees have been the pain in the tuchus for me. I've been looking at stuff going, ooh, yeah, I could use that. Wait a minute. You're asking for how much for shipping? No, thank you. Alright, so we've got our shells done. I'm just going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to see how we're going to work our model power shells in here. Or our model power trucks in here to make it look more workable. And I think I have some ideas. When you're doing something like this, like I'm doing, which literally is the first time, I mean, I've been working this all in my head, figuring out how to correct the mistakes of Tyco's ways, and making this into something a little bit cheaper than a Bowser. Sometimes you gotta just put things together and mock it up a little bit to look at it. Alright, we got a great idea how this looks. Now we're going to talk about stripping these. What we're going to do about stripping them. And the motor I'm going to use is seeing if I can get the motor to work with the universals here on this POJ. And that'll be the first step of building our SP Alco 630. Alright friends, so here's what's happening now. As you can see, I'm doing a long video in order to build this thing, and obviously I want to keep these videos under 20 minutes. So that's the end of this segment right now. We'll be going on to the next segment soon, and so, you know, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hey friends, thanks for watching the video. I know you're at the end, but if you like this video, just remember, every 2 weeks I'm going to be bringing out a new video on budget model railroading, the history of Tyco trains, the history of other model railroad companies, and some how-to things that maybe you've never learned before, or you've known and you want to share with your friends but you never knew how. Well, here's the way. All you got to do on this video is like, share, subscribe, and if you want notifications, hit the little bell there, which I still don't know how to do, but we'll figure it out eventually. But until then, hey, we'll see you in the next video, and I am Psycho for Tyco.